Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, coin lovers and treasure hunters. Today we're stepping into the fascinating world of United States coinage to uncover the secrets of a small but mighty piece of history, the 1980 Lincoln penny with a mint mark. Now, at first glance, this might look like an ordinary coin you'd easily overlook in your pocket change. After all, Lincoln cents have been around for more than a century, and millions upon millions were struck in 1980. But what makes some of these coins so incredibly valuable? Why would collectors pay serious money for a coin most people wouldn't even think twice about spending? That's exactly what we're going to uncover together, so stay with me until the very end because you won't believe the value a single 1980 penny could reach in today's market. The Lincoln cent has one of the richest and longest-running histories in American coinage. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the very first regular-issue coin of the United States to feature the portrait of an actual historical person. Before that, Liberty was the star of American coins. But when the Lincoln cent came out, it was an instant success with the public, not only because of the design but also because of the meaning behind it. Abraham Lincoln, remembered as one of the greatest presidents in American history, was honored for his leadership during the Civil War and his role in preserving the Union. By the time 1980 rolled around, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for more than 70 years. The reverse design, showing the Lincoln Memorial, had been in use since 1959, replacing the classic wheat ears that collectors love so much. So the 1980 Lincoln cent with a mint mark falls into this era known as the Memorial Reverse Series. Now, here's something fascinating. Even though these coins were mass-produced by the billions at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, certain details and conditions can make one of them stand out dramatically in terms of value. Think about it. When a coin is minted, small errors can occur. Maybe a die is slightly misaligned, maybe there's doubling on the lettering or date, maybe the strike pressure was off. These tiny quirks often go unnoticed by the general public but are like gold to collectors because they turn ordinary coins into rare pieces of history. With the 1980 Lincoln penny, mint mark variations and minting errors can play a huge role in raising the coin's value. For example, a 1980 penny with a double die obverse or a strong strike that brings out all the design details clearly, especially in uncirculated condition, can be worth far more than face value. Now, let's talk about the design itself for a moment, because that's part of what makes the Lincoln cent so iconic. On the front, or obverse, you have Victor David Brenner's timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right. If you look closely at high-grade examples, the details in Lincoln's hair, beard, and clothing are sharp and precise, reflecting the artistry of the design. On the back, or reverse, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And here's a fun detail: if you examine the coin under magnification, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. It's a small but powerful reminder of the president the coin honors. Condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A 1980 penny that has been circulated, passed from hand to hand, scratched, worn, and tarnished, will likely be worth only a cent or two to collectors. But a coin that has survived the years in mint state, with bright luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, can be valued far more. Collectors place a premium on coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, especially when they achieve high grades like MS 67 or higher. Those grades are very tough to achieve because most coins from that era were heavily used in daily transactions. Another fascinating aspect of the 1980 penny is the mint mark. Coins from Denver carry a little D beneath the date, while those from San Francisco have an S. Philadelphia, at that time, usually didn't include a mint mark at all for pennies. So spotting the mint mark is a key step in determining what you might have. For collectors, certain mint mark varieties are more desirable, especially if they are paired with strong strikes or error features, and of course, let's not forget about errors, things like off-center strikes, double dies, and repunched mint marks. These minting oddities often turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. For example, a double die showing extra thickness in the date or lettering can push the value sky high. Some of these coins never even make it into circulation, ending up in the hands of collectors who understand their rarity. But sometimes, they slip through and land in someone's change jar, waiting to be discovered years later. Now, why is the 1980 penny with a mint mark especially intriguing? Because even though so many were produced, finding one in flawless, uncirculated condition, or better yet, one with a rare mint error, can make the coin worth an extraordinary amount of money. Imagine searching through an old box of coins in your attic or flipping through a coin jar and suddenly realizing you're holding onto something incredibly rare. That's the thrill of coin collecting, and it's why enthusiasts around the world keep their eyes open for coins like this. So here's the part you've been waiting for. A 1980 Lincoln penny with a mint mark, preserved in the finest condition and possibly enhanced by a rare error, has been valued by collectors at an astounding $95,000, yes, $95,000 for a single penny that most people would overlook. Just think about that, something so small, so common at first glance, can actually be a hidden treasure worth a life-changing amount of money. This is exactly why coin collecting is so fascinating and why every coin in your pocket deserves a second look. Today we are diving into the incredible world of United States coins to talk about one that may be sitting in your change right now but could actually be worth a fortune, the 1973 Lincoln penny with a mint mark. At first glance, it might just look like another ordinary cent, something so common that we barely give it a second thought. But as every collector knows, sometimes the smallest coins hold the biggest surprises. Stick with me until the end, because the value of this little piece of copper could blow your mind. The Lincoln penny has a long and fascinating history. It was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the Lincoln cent was revolutionary for its time because it was the very first circulating U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person rather than an allegorical figure like Liberty. Americans instantly embraced it, and since then, it has become one of the most widely recognized and collected coins in the nation. Over the decades, the design has undergone changes, most notably on the reverse, but Lincoln's image has remained on the obverse as a lasting tribute to one of America's greatest leaders. By 1973, the Lincoln cent was in the middle of its memorial reverse era, which had started in 1959 to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. The wheat ears on the back of the coin were replaced with the image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design was chosen to emphasize Lincoln's enduring legacy and the importance of his leadership during one of the most challenging times in American history. If you look closely at the reverse of a 1973 penny, you can even spot the tiny figure of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, a detail so small you'll need magnification to see it clearly, but a wonderful reminder of the artistry put into this coin. Now, let's talk about the 1973 pennies themselves. They were minted in large numbers at 3 different U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Denver bear a small D mint mark under the date, while San Francisco coins have an S. Philadelphia coins from that era usually carry no mint mark at all. At the time, billions of pennies were struck, and they were used in everyday life by millions of Americans. But even though so many were made, certain examples stand out dramatically from the rest. What makes a 1973 penny with a mint mark worth money comes down to a few factors: rarity, condition, and errors. First, condition plays a huge role. Most pennies from 1973 have been used in circulation for decades, passed from hand to hand, and now show heavy wear, scratches, or discoloration. These kinds of coins, unfortunately, aren't worth much more than face value. But a coin that has been carefully preserved in mint state, with sharp details and original luster, is a completely different story. Collectors pay big premiums for coins that grade at the highest levels, such as MS-66, MS-67, or higher, especially when they come from respected grading services like PCGS or NGC. Then there's the matter of minting errors. This is where things get really exciting for collectors. A double die obverse, where the date or lettering shows noticeable doubling, can make a coin extremely valuable. Other types of errors include off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, or die cracks that create unique patterns on the coin's surface. Because these errors are unintentional and relatively rare, they turn an ordinary penny into something extraordinary. And in the world of coin collecting, error coins are among the most sought-after treasures. The design itself is also part of the appeal. On the obverse, Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln has remained largely unchanged since 1909, a testament to its enduring beauty and historical importance. Collectors admire the fine details of Lincoln's profile, from the texture of his hair to the shape of his beard. On high-grade 1973 examples, these details stand out brilliantly, showing just how carefully the coin was struck. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design not only represents an important American monument but also carries that hidden little image of Lincoln himself inside the memorial, almost like a secret detail for collectors to appreciate. What fascinates collectors about the 1973 penny is that, while billions were struck, only a small number survive in top condition or with rare mint errors. That scarcity drives up the demand and, in turn, the value. Imagine digging through an old coin jar, spotting a 1973 penny, and realizing that what you hold in your hand isn't just another cent, but a rare collector's piece that could fetch thousands, or even more, in the right market. That thrill of discovery is what makes coin collecting such an exciting adventure. Now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value. While most 1973 pennies will only ever be worth a cent or two, the rarest examples, especially those with mint marks in pristine, uncirculated condition or with significant minting errors, can be worth a jaw-dropping amount. Some of these coins have been known to sell at auctions or private sales for an incredible $85,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $85,000 for a penny minted in 1973. It's truly astonishing that something so small, something we handle every day without thinking, could turn out to be a hidden treasure. That's the magic of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. Every coin has a story, and sometimes that story includes life-changing value. Today we are going deep into the world of United States pennies to uncover the fascinating story of a small coin that most people would overlook, the 1966 Lincoln penny with a mint mark. At first glance, this coin seems like just another cent, something you'd find rolling around in your pocket or sitting forgotten in a jar of change. But as you'll soon see, certain examples of the 1966 penny can be worth an extraordinary amount of money. So stay with me until the end, because you'll want to hear just how valuable this little coin can be in today's collector's market. To understand why the 1966 Lincoln penny is so interesting, we first need to look at its history. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it became the very first circulating U.S. coin to feature the portrait of an actual historical figure. Americans loved the design, and the coin has remained in production ever since, making it one of the most enduring and recognizable coins in American history. Over the years, the reverse design has changed, from the wheat ears design of 1909 through 1958 to the Lincoln Memorial that began in 1959 and lasted until 2008, but the obverse portrait of Lincoln has remained constant, a timeless tribute to the president who guided the nation through its darkest days. By the time 1966 arrived, the United States Mint was in a very unusual situation. In the early 1960s, the nation was experiencing a massive coin shortage, and the mint blamed coin collectors for pulling too many coins out of circulation. To discourage collecting, the government made a bold decision. From 1965 through 1967, U.S. coins would not carry mint marks. That means that pennies from 1966 technically don't have a mint mark, regardless of whether they were struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco mints. So if you pick up a 1966 penny and wonder where the mint mark is, well, it was intentionally left off. This period is known as the no mint mark era, and it makes the coins from these years especially intriguing to collectors. Even without visible mint marks, the 1966 penny holds a special place in the series. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design period, where the reverse shows the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. If you look closely, you can even spot the tiny seated statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a clever detail that often surprises people seeing it for the first time under magnification. The obverse, of course, continues Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, showing the fine details of his face, beard, and coat. Now, let's talk about why the 1966 penny can be valuable. The first factor is condition. Most pennies from this year were heavily circulated, used daily for decades, and today they show the expected wear, scratches, and dull surfaces. These worn coins typically aren't worth more than face value. But when you find a 1966 penny that has survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, the story changes dramatically. Coins graded at very high mint state levels, such as MS 66, MS 67, or even higher, are rare because so few coins were preserved in such excellent condition. Collectors are willing to pay large premiums for these high-grade survivors. The second factor is errors. Minting errors are what truly excite collectors, and the 1966 penny is no exception. Errors such as double dies, where the date or lettering shows doubling, or off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing, can make a coin extremely desirable. Repunched mint marks, of course, don't apply here since mint marks were omitted during this time, but other forms of errors like die cracks, broad strikes, and clipped planchets can exist and make individual coins one of a kind. Each error coin tells its own story, and since they are rare by nature, collectors will often pay astonishing amounts to own them. Another factor to consider is the historical context of this coin. The mid-1960s were a turbulent time in America, with social change, cultural shifts, and political upheaval defining the era. Having a 1966 penny in your hand is like holding a piece of that history, a reminder of a time when the nation was in transition. For collectors, the historical backdrop adds to the appeal of the coin. Now, imagine finding a 1966 penny that has been perfectly preserved, with brilliant luster, sharp details, and maybe even a unique minting error. That's when the coin transforms from ordinary change into a rare and valuable collectible. Many people have old jars or boxes of coins stored away in attics, basements, or closets, and without realizing it, some of those coins could be worth far more than just their face value. The thrill of discovering a valuable penny among ordinary coins is one of the greatest joys of numismatics. So here is the part you've been waiting for. While most 1966 pennies won't be worth more than a cent or two, the rarest examples, those that are in superb uncirculated condition or that feature remarkable minting errors, have been known to reach values as high as $88,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $88,000 for a single 1966 Lincoln penny. Just think about that for a moment. A coin that most people ignore, a coin that was produced by the billions, could actually be worth enough to change someone's life if it happens to be the right one. That's the incredible magic of coin collecting. Today, we're traveling back in time to take a closer look at a coin that many people might have in their collection without realizing just how special it can be, the 1963 Lincoln penny with a mint mark. At first glance, it seems like one of those common cents you might find in an old jar or tucked away in a drawer, but as we'll uncover together, certain 1963 pennies can be worth far more than their face value. In fact, one particular example in the right condition and with the right details has been valued at a life-changing amount. Stay tuned until the end, because you'll want to know exactly how much this little piece of copper can be worth today. The Lincoln cent is one of the most iconic and enduring coins in United States history. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the design replaced the Indian head cent and immediately captured the hearts of Americans. Victor David Brenner, the designer of the Lincoln penny, created a portrait of Lincoln that still remains on the coin more than a century later. It was the first time a real historical figure was honored on a U.S. circulating coin, and since then, the Lincoln cent has become a symbol of American history, tradition, and resilience. By 1963, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for over 50 years, and it was still one of the most heavily produced and widely used coins in the country. At this time, the penny still carried the reverse design featuring two wheat ears surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. This wheat design had been in place since 1909 and was loved by collectors for its simplicity and elegance. Just a few years later, in 1959, the wheat ears were replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design, so the 1963 penny falls into the transitional period when collectors still valued the wheat reverse but were also adapting to the new memorial design that would dominate for decades. The 1963 penny is especially interesting because it was minted at 3 different U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint mark can be found just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. If you see a D, it means the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. An S indicates the San Francisco Mint, while coins struck in Philadelphia during that period generally carry no mint mark at all. This small letter can make a huge difference in determining the coin's value, because certain mint mark varieties are much rarer and therefore much more desirable to collectors. Now, let's dive into what makes the 1963 penny with a mint mark so special. Like all coins, condition is one of the most important factors in determining value. Most pennies from 1963 were used heavily in everyday commerce, passing through countless hands over the years. These circulated coins often show signs of wear, scratches, and fading, making them worth only face value or slightly more to collectors. But coins that were never released into circulation, those that were carefully preserved in pristine, mint state condition, are a completely different story. Collectors are willing to pay high premiums for 1963 pennies that grade MS 65, MS 66, or even higher. Achieving such a grade is very difficult, which is why these coins are so rare and valuable today. Another exciting aspect of the 1963 penny is minting errors. Error coins are some of the most sought-after pieces in the hobby because they are unique and often visually striking. For example, a double die error, where parts of the design appear doubled, can make a coin highly valuable. Other types of errors include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is missing, or die cracks, which create unusual raised lines on the surface. Each error tells a story about the minting process and makes the coin one of a kind. A 1963 penny with a mint mark that also has a dramatic error can bring in huge interest from collectors and fetch incredible prices at auction. The design itself also adds to the coin's charm. On the obverse, we see Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, facing to the right. Lincoln's image is detailed, with his strong features and distinctive beard symbolizing leadership and integrity. On well-preserved coins, the fine details of Lincoln's hair and clothing remain sharp, making the portrait especially beautiful. On the reverse, for 1963, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design, which replaced the wheat ears in 1959. This design not only commemorates Lincoln but also includes a clever detail, a tiny depiction of Lincoln's statue visible inside the memorial itself. This hidden feature fascinates collectors and makes the memorial reverse design unique in American coinage. It's also important to note that 1963 was a time of change in the world and in America. The early 1960s were marked by the optimism of the Kennedy era, the space race, and significant cultural shifts. Having a coin from 1963 is like holding a piece of that history in your hand, a small reminder of what life was like during that period. This historical connection adds another layer of meaning to the coin's appeal. For collectors, what makes the 1963 penny truly valuable is the combination of rarity, condition, and uniqueness. When you find a coin that has survived more than 60 years in perfect condition or one that carries a dramatic error, you're not just holding a cent, you're holding a piece of history that could be worth thousands. And in some very rare cases, the value can be truly staggering. So now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for. While most 1963 Lincoln pennies will never be worth more than a cent or two, the rarest examples, those with a mint mark, preserved in uncirculated mint state condition, or featuring remarkable minting errors, have been known to sell for as much as $78,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $78,000 for a single 1963 Lincoln penny. Think about that for a moment. A coin that was once so common, a coin that people hardly even noticed as they spent it, could actually be worth more than a brand new luxury car today. That's the incredible world of coin collecting, where hidden treasures are waiting to be discovered in the most unexpected places. Today, first glance looks like every other penny you've seen, but for collectors and experts it holds secrets that make it far more special than just a single cent. This coin belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, which ran from 1959 until 2008, and it features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the front. The reverse side proudly displays the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., a tribute not just to a great president but also to American history. The year 1981 is particularly interesting for coin collectors. It was one of the final years when the U.S. Mint produced the Lincoln penny in mostly copper. Up until 1982, these coins were struck with a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, making them heavier and giving them that distinct reddish-brown luster that coin enthusiasts love. After 1982, the Mint switched to primarily zinc coins coated with copper, which not only made them lighter but also less durable. That means a 1981 penny is already a piece of history because it belongs to the end of an important era for American coinage. What makes the 1981 Lincoln penny even more fascinating is the role of the mint mark. Coins were struck at different mints across the country, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Depending on where your penny was minted, you'll find no mint mark at all, or a small D or S beneath the year. For collectors, this tiny mark makes all the difference. Certain mint mark varieties from 1981 are much harder to find, and when you combine rarity with condition, you unlock the true potential of this coin's value. Condition is key in the world of coin collecting. Most pennies from 1981 that have been in circulation are worn, scratched, or discolored from decades of passing through countless hands. But once in a while, someone discovers a coin that looks like it was just struck yesterday, still gleaming with its original mint luster. These coins, especially when graded by professional services and found to be in near-perfect condition, can skyrocket in value. Collectors will pay a premium for coins with sharp details on Lincoln's face, clear lettering, and no signs of damage, but that's not all. There are also special varieties and errors that make some 1981 Lincoln pennies worth far more than face value. For example, double die errors, where the design elements appear to be struck twice, are highly sought after. A small doubling on the date, the mint mark, or the inscriptions can transform a common penny into a true rarity. Off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and coins with unusual metal flaws can also catch the attention of collectors who are always hunting for something unique. Think about it, millions of these coins were produced in 1981, yet only a fraction of them survive today in pristine condition, and even fewer exist with those rare errors that make collectors' eyes light up. This scarcity is what drives the incredible value of certain examples. To the untrained eye, it's just another coin you might drop into a vending machine. But to a numismatist, it's a treasure waiting to be discovered. The story of the Lincoln penny also adds to its charm. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic figure. For over a century, it has remained a staple of American currency, a symbol of both history and everyday life. The 1981 version connects us directly to that tradition, while also marking the end of the all-copper era. That makes it not only valuable in monetary terms but also culturally and historically significant. Now imagine the thrill of finding one of these rare 1981 pennies in your collection, tucked away in a drawer or hiding in a jar of loose change. For most people, it would be an unexpected surprise, but for those who know what to look for, it could mean uncovering a small fortune. It's a reminder that treasures are often hiding in plain sight, and sometimes all it takes is a closer look to recognize their true worth. And here's the most exciting part: some 1981 Lincoln pennies with the right mint mark, the right condition, and the right rarity have been valued at an astonishing $96,000.